Hi, I'm Megan, and today I'm going to show you how to play River Valley Glassworks for 1 to 5 players, ages 8 and up, and it plays in around 25 minutes, published by Allplay. To set up, place the lake on one side and all the river tiles shuffled and laid out in a random order. You're going to take glass from this bag and place them onto the river tiles. There are stones on these river tiles. That's how many stones you're going to place on that tile. So this one only has 1 stone, so you'll place one stone there. Then you're going to place 5 stones in the lake. If you're playing with 5 players, make sure you include the black stones in the bag. Now have everyone choose a player board. They're all the same, so it doesn't matter which one you take. This is called your Glassworks board. Then give each player a marker and place it on the 0 space and a satchel. And assign the first player. The first player is the last person to see a river. And take 3 glass from the bag and place them on each person's satchel. And now you're ready to begin. On your turn, you can do one of 2 things. You can place and gather, or you can draw. When placing and gathering, you're going to take one of your glass and put it on the matching shape tile. So this is like a heart, it goes on the heart tile. Then you can take what's adjacent to it, either what's in front of it or what's behind it. The only thing that's adjacent to this tile is this one, so I would take this glass. And then it goes down into your glasswork. And I'll explain how it gets added to your glasswork in just a second. Then you're going to take that tile and move it to the end of the river, slide everything down, and you're going to place glass on that tile based on how many stones it shows on the tile adjacent to it. So this tile shows 1 stone, so I'm going to place 1 glasswork on that new tile. Or you can take two glass of the same shape and place them on any tile and take what's adjacent to it. When you're taking tiles, or when you're taking glass from the river, you take everything that's on that tile. Now when adding it to your glasswork, you're going to add it to the farthest left column. If it's a color you already have, you're going to stack it up. So in this example, I'll take this purple and stack it up, and I'll take this green and add it here. On your board, it shows the rarity of the glass. So white and purple are the most common, and yellow and orange are the most rare. Then you're going to update your inventory track. So count how many glass that you just collected and up your inventory track. So I have 5 glass, so I put this at 5. Every time you add glass to your glassworks, you're going to increase your inventory track. If a column is full and you draw another one of that color, you have no place to put it, so it goes in your overflow. Every glass in your overflow is -3 points at the end of the game, and it stays in your overflow for the whole game. If you have 7 colors already and you draw the 8th color and you have no place to put it because these have to be matching colors, it goes in your overflow. And the second option you can do is drawing. You can draw from the river, and you must draw 4 pieces. Your satchel can only hold 5 pieces, so if you were to draw more than 5, it goes into your overflow. So you would take 4 pieces and add it to your satchel. I'm now at 5. Then you would refill the lake. The end of the game is triggered when somebody reaches 17 or more on their inventory track. Then everybody who has less than 3 glass in their satchel will draw up to 3 from the bag. Then you finish out the round and play 1 more turn. For final scoring, you're going to score all rows. Score each row in your glassworks going from bottom to top. Each row scores based on how many spaces you filled from left to right without any gaps. And the row victory points are listed on the bottom. So for this bottom row, I would score 22 points. For the row above it, it only goes up to here and then there's a gap, so I only score 11 points. And then the row above that, I scored 2 points. And then these 2 rows, I score 1 point each. Then score your 2 tallest columns. If there are any ties, score the leftmost tied column. Each column scores the victory points on its highest filled space. So this is my tallest, so I would score 5 points for that one. And then these two, my dark blue and my white, are tied for the tallest, so I score the leftmost column. So that would be the dark blue, which scores 6 points. Then you're going to subtract points for every stone, for every glass in your overflow. Some tips to remember is that glass you take from the river always goes to your glassworks. Glass you take from the lake always goes to your satchel. So usually you only want to draw when you have 0 or 1 pieces left in your satchel, because otherwise you would go over 5 pieces. Building tall columns further to the right of your glassworks will score you more column victory points, but filling in gaps along each row will score you more row victory points. If you're going for column victory points, ties for tallest column are usually bad because you'll have to score the leftmost of them, which is the fewer victory points. And remember, you only have room for 7 colors and there are 8 colors in the game. There are 9 colors in the game if you're playing 5 people. So if you get all 8 colors, it goes into your overflow. And that's all the rules for River Valley Glassworks. When playing solo, you're going to set up with the river on the right side of the table, and then all the river tiles on the left. Set up the river and the lake as normal, and set up your satchel as normal. Make sure you have 5 pieces to start the game. Then you're going to choose a solo rival. On the backs of each of the glassworks is a different rival you can face with different rules of how they play. For your first game, it recommends facing off against Auto Snugs. You'll notice that each of the solo rivals has a star rating of how difficult it is. Then take the satchel with this little light bulb symbol and give it to the solo rival. Make sure you read their board because it tells you how they play, all the rules for them. It tells you additional setup rules and all of that. I'm not going to go over all the different solo rivals and their rules and their setups. Placing a third piece in your rival's satchel triggers the end of the game. It shows 3 spaces on their satchel and the final space says game end. Each time you draw 4 glass pieces from the lake, place the 5th piece into your rival's satchel. So if you were to refill your satchel, you would take 4 as normal, and then the 5th and final piece goes into the satchel, their satchel. If your rival has 3 pieces in their satchel, they trigger the end of the game. They only add to their satchel when you draw. Each time your rival takes a turn, follow these steps: gather, flow river, and add to glassworks. For gather, you're going to use their special rule. It says right here, gather, and then you got to read what it says, and it tells you their rule of how they gather. Then you're going to flow the river by moving the empty tile, putting it at the end, and replenishing the glass based off of the stones in front of it. Then you go and add all the glass your rival gathered to their glassworks. If they add multiple new colors, place them in the order shown on their board. So they prioritize having yellow on the farthest left. So if they were to take this tile, the glass from that tile, they have white and light green. Light green comes before white, so they would put light green on the farthest left space and then the white. If they cover up an icon, resolve the effects listed on their board. So this effect says when auto covers a shape, like they did here, add 1 glass to the river tile matching that shape. So you would draw from the bag and put 1 glass on that matching shape tile. So that would be this shape here. When they add to the river, they always draw from the bag. And specifically for Auto Snugs, when you cover this sand timer, you skip Auto's next turn. You score based off of what it says on their board. This one in particular scores the lengths of the row to the first gap, and then 3 points more for their glass in their surplus, and -5 points for glass in their waste. Now it tells you what goes in the surplus and the waste. In the surplus, you place columns. So if they were to fill, so if they had a column that was full and they would add to that column, it goes into their surplus. And then for their waste, it says the 8th color. So if they take from the river the 8th color, it goes into their waist, which is -5 points. And specifically for Otto, for his gather action, Otto gathers the river tile with the most glass. If tied, he chooses the tile closest to the lake. The game ends when you reach 17 or more on your inventory track, or your rival has 3 glass in their satchel. You would score your points as normal, scoring for the rows and your 2 tallest columns, and then you score your rival based off of what it says on their board. For this particular rival, they score the rows and the overflow, meaning their surplus and their waste, but they do not score columns. And I believe that's all the rules for the solo mode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Hope you have a great day and see you next time. Bye.